Bulavinaka, and welcome to the second edition of Beyond the Game. We received tremendous response to the very first edition that we produced a day ago, and here we are with the second edition of this panel discussion. And today on the panel, we have prominent football coach Gurjit Singh. We've also got the Labasa Football Association coach Ronil Lal, and we've got former administrator Vinesh Prasad is also joining us from Brisbane. So first we're going to discuss the matches that were played yesterday. Of course, there has been a lot of reaction to the ground conditions and the sort of impact that it had on the matches, the quality of the games, and the abilities of teams and players to perform. In the very first match that we saw yesterday, it was the Lautoka side that overcame Navua by 3 goals to 1. Then Ba and Rewa played to a 1-1 draw. Then we had Suva managing to beat Nandi by 3 goals to 2. And in the last match, it was host Labasa that overcame Nasinu by 3 goals to 0. And that, of course, brought us has brought us to the last round of games, which will decide the fate of at least 7 teams, and that is going to determine who will play the semi-finals on Saturday. So the first question that I have will be to Gurjit Singh. I know you have watched all the matches yesterday. How would you analyze, and how would you what is your reaction essentially to the matches that were played yesterday?
Yes, Nilas, the first game was played between Lautoka and Navua. I think both teams made a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors. And if you see Navua, the midfield, gave a lot of space for Lautoka to make more attacks. And overall, we didn't see much in that game, but it was a good win for Lautoka. And Navua also had few attempts. But overall, I think Lautoka was a better team of the day. And then we went on to the second game. That was between Rewa and Ba. As said by Rondu, mostly they make attempts in the second half. They come up very strong in the second half. A lot of games they have won in the second half. Looking at it, I think Ba, they dominated first half and they scored in the first half. But in the second half, after some changes, Rewa came up very strongly. And looking at the whole game in the second half, we could see that Rewa made a lot of attacks. And from Ba, I didn't see any good attempt in the second half. And for Ba, their defense was good. And the young defender, I wrote his name, Suliano Tawanakoro, he was really solid in defense. He actually made it very hard for Rewa to score goals, and he did not let their keeper, who was a new keeper, he didn't let him play under pressure. So the defense was good, this young boy, and I really liked his game. The next game between Suva and Suva played Nandi. Nandi started off very well. I think they scored in the first half. But overall, Suva, I think the whole team played well. They made few changes, and they did not. Another thing I liked for Suva was they brought in the left on the left Calicito. I think he in place of Leseni Aurora. He did not play yesterday. And Calicito, I think he did well. Young player, made a lot of runs on the flank, and he was solid in the defense. Overall, Nandi also had some young players. I mean, the two boys I wrote their names, Sivnil Pillay and Ashnil Kumar. Sivnil, I think he scored the goal for Nandi, first goal, and Ashnil was in the defense. He was very solid defender. Overall, as I said, Suva was did very well. Whole team played well, and they scored some good goals. And if you see this year, Suva's both strikers, Christopher and Sai, they have been scoring goals for Suva almost in every game. And Sai was, I think, my pick of that game. And then we came into last game, Lambasa and Nesino. Nesino made few attempts, but they missed few chances. Overall, Lambasa wanted to win, and they wanted goal leverage, and they did well. They scored 3 goals. So that was my overall view of these teams in the games. But at the same time, if you look at the ground condition, it did not suit most of the team, most of the players. We cannot see good football in this sort of pitch. So we can't blame anyone. We can't say much about it. But scoring was important, and the teams which scored, they got a chance to move up.
Okay, we're going to be talking about the ground conditions later. That is definitely one of the key issues of contention right now. But we'll move on to Ronil. You came off the back of a bad loss to the Riverside in the opener. But it was a great turnaround for Labasa, and I think the result was pretty good given the conditions that the team played in. What is your reaction to this first win for Labasa in the Fiji Fest 2020 so far?
Thank you. Especially the first game when we played, in the last 20 minutes we conceded 4 goals. So we were exposed to a lot of areas, and those were the areas we tried to rectify in this game against Nasino. As Coach Gurjit had said about the ground conditions, so we could not play our normal game. So it was just a proactive approach, getting the ball up fast with numbers, and we tried to do that. And luckily we scored 3 goals. So it was a good win for the boys, and I think so it was also a morale booster for them. And the team spirit is quite high. We're looking forward for the game this afternoon. So I have told them that the first game is we can learn only from our mistakes, and we can only improve. Then that's what we tried to do, and I think so. We have great leaders in the team, especially with Apoy Lambatay Suva and Tania Lawanga. Those two are very good leaders who always motivate the boys. And apart from my technical and tactical part, the other mental part is done by them mostly, which I give them the responsibility of psyching up the team, which they have done very well. So we're looking forward for a game today, and hopefully we should do well.
That 39th minute goal by Antonio Tuivuna was instrumental in the victory. And I think it also came at the right time, because Labasa definitely needed to get into lead before going on to the breather. Tania Lawanga is another player that you've mentioned, but it is very difficult for skillful and fast players to be playing in such heavy underfoot conditions. What is the impact that it had, even though Labasa won eventually, but what is the kind of impact that the ground condition had on Lambasa's performance? Do you believe that if it was dry, Labasa could have won by a larger margin, or would then Nasino have had an advantage, or the outcome would have been tilted in their favor?
Probably the ground condition did not let us play the style and the system we normally play. But yes, I think so. The game would have been different. I think so. We all know how Labasa plays. I always try and emphasize on that. It's short passes and mostly moving out and with numbers. So the system I normally use is 4-4-2, but at times, recently what I've tried to do is play 4-1-4-1. So putting Taniala right up ahead, and behind him 2 more strikers, which is giving numbers in attack, and with the holding midfield at the back. So it was not working out because of the ground condition, and I think so. Tongigate Nashino, they came out determined. I think so. They had also got a chance to qualify, so they were giving their all. And I think so. If the ground condition would have been better, the game would have been more probably entertaining. It was a very fast-paced game. Nothing to be taken away from Nashino. They are a very good side. For us, I think so. We would have done much better because the things we tried to work out didn't work because, as you said about the ground condition. So I would believe that we'd have done much better if the ground condition would have been better.
Vinesh, you also watched the matches yesterday. What do you think, in relation to, since we're talking about the ground conditions, which teams do you think particularly had an advantage due to the ground condition, and which teams were adversely affected by it?
Thank you, Nilesh. I think the team which were adversely impacted were Western teams, which was quite evident. I think if ground was holding firm, Rewa Ba result would have been totally different. Ba would have, I think, the way Ba played in first half, and with the soft ground condition, they Rewa came back, and I think Rondu would have been proven totally wrong of enjoying his game in the last quarter or whatever. Ba would have totally proven him wrong and taken him by surprise. But it was, it's a nature's call, we can't do much. And then this other southern side, I think Suva is a good side, nothing to be taken away, but I think this heavy footing, they have few lighter players, and I think that assisted them as well. And Navua, given that they have been training in the artificial turf, lucky are them. So they have been, I think, more used to more professional condition compared to the ground condition. So I think even though Navua is a southern side which used to be playing in a wet, soggy condition, but from last year they have been training and playing on artificial turf. I think that when you translate that into the current condition we had, that has it. And then in our last game, the Labasa team, we all know they play one-touch grips, short passes, and move up front quickly and then fall back. And I think that portion, as Ronil has aptly mentioned, that portion was not in the game. And we, as a ardent Labasa soccer fan, we love to see that 1-2 passes and quick ball moving up front, and that was missing. And I think overall the ground condition is having a major impact on the player skills, and they are not able to shine up, and they are not able to show the skills they possess. So I think the best thing would be, in my view, the coaches, what they should do is to, I think, forget about showing skills, just have to adapt and see how best we can score goals and win. Because sometimes showing good skills might cost costly, what we are used to, someone might just take the ball and score. So at the moment, just long balls and just taking shot from outside the range and hope that the goalkeeper slips the ball in. Thank you.
Yeah, but taking long shots, the two coaches that you have, that's also pretty risky, because all it can end up is that the other team gets possession of the ball because they're kicking into their territory and they have more players. So that also requires a little bit of practice and technical adapting before you use that system of long balls. What is your view on that, Gurjit?
Yeah, I mean, keeping possession is very, very important. If you give lot of long kicks, mostly you lose possession. So it's very important to keep possession. And definitely, if you are shooting range, you must take shots. Was in this condition, the slippery condition, you might get a goal. And overall, I think what I feel in that ground condition, mostly flanks were okay, but in the middle it was unplayable. So you could not use mostly midfield. So it was very important for the teams to know that you need to play more balls on the flank and get some give some quality crosses. And some teams they did that. They played a lot of balls on the flanks, and then that's how they moved up and they scored goals. So whether you take long kicks or short, it all depends upon how you keep possession. That's important.
Yes, Coach Ronil, the very important point mentioned by or brought up by Coach Gurjit Singh. Um, looking at the pitch, it is essentially unplayable in the middle, which means that most teams are approaching the goal from the flanks. But that also makes it pretty difficult to launch potent attacks because it is easier for defenses to organize because they know that that is the direction that most attacks are going to come from. So how do you think the teams are coping with that? And in the case of Labasa, is it actually having an impact on your ability to score goals?
Yes, of course. As I mentioned before, normally the style of play we have, we are not able to do that. But I believe the most important thing football is about player task and player role. As you said, we have to adapt to the environment, so we need to change our player task. Yesterday, when we were going up, and the main player task was for my two midfielders to win all the loose balls. So it's very important. Even we go to the flanks, then but we need player task. If we go to the flanks, then there are certain people who have to be in the box. Otherwise, the crosses won't work. So it's very important before the game in our team talks, when assigning player roles, it's very important for certain players, their specific duties have to be told to them. So yesterday I tried my best to keep Tanya Lawanga in the middle most of the time, so that we had a target in front whenever the ball went. And if we played from the middle or from the side, there has to be one or two person behind him for those loose balls. So I tried to specify those roles. That's why Akemi Ralulu played a bit further ahead yesterday, just behind Tanya Lawanga and Ratu Andre. So in these situations, it's very important the player role or player task that we assign to players for particular games. And possession, yes, it's very important to keep possession, but in this kind of situations, it's quite difficult because to keep possession, you have to go short or short passes, and we have to rotate the ball, but it's very hard to do that. So as coach has mentioned, Coach Gurjit had mentioned, the best part is the flanks. But if you go to the flanks, then you need people in the box with specific roles. If you have people, then if you have two strikers, one is going to the near post, the other one far, then who else is coming in? So it's very important for teams to play in that way. Example, if you're going to play with Bar today, whenever we go to flank, and I will need at least 4 people to be there in the box with one at the back for the loose ball. So assigning player tasks is very important in this situation, and to adapt to the game and the team we are playing with. Example, their system of play is very important to know. Example, if we play a team with 4-4-2, we know there's 4 at the back. Playing with a team with 3-5-2. So it's important how they, what is the defensive transition they do. And it's important, that's why it's very important to have video analysis of games done and coaches to look at the main points. I think so when we play a particular team, it's very important to know their system of play. What are their formations or their system in transitions and the special plays they have in the team. So these are some of the factors that we need to know, and we need to, for particular team we're going to play, and for also for our team to assign particular roles to players.
Okay, thank you, Ronil. Vinesh, the ground conditions are absolutely deplorable. And as we've said, it is having a huge impact on games, the abilities of teams to showcase and also individual players to showcase what they've got. So do you think that Fiji Football Association should continue to have the games played in should continue the tournaments, or should they consider postponing?
Nil- Nilesh, there are a couple of things that needs to be considered when such decisions are made. And I think Fiji football with those people, they must be considering those. First, I think the cost factor is the real thing, given with pandemic, very little funds coming through. So we don't know what will be the financial impact if we totally stop and try to move the game next week. There'll be huge financial impact, and based on that, the players, we are having our district teams which are managed by certain sponsors, and we are not in a professional era where the teams, they sell their merchandise, they have their own business running to source the income. And in that scenario, it becomes very difficult to extend the game, knowing the financial cost. But from a player safety view, and from fans point of view, because fans, we want to enjoy good soccer, and we also thinking of player safety. Based on that, such ground condition is totally unplayable. So I am, I cannot just say that we should shift the game for next week or next month, given November to April is also a very wet season in Fiji, and is western, northern, central, they are all wet season at the time. Though Suva and Lotoka has better ground condition, but again, if we are shifting back to Suva or Lotoka, who will bear all the cost of teams who have come to Labasa, and then now teams which will be moving to West? So let's see if weather holds on today, and I don't know what the Labasa Town Council has done overnight, but uh, the ground condition is not very suitable at the moment. So I am in my personal opinion, yes, we should shift the game to another time, but then how critical that is a question mark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll talk about the upcoming last round of games. Welcome back to Beyond the Game. We're talking about the ongoing Fiji Fact football tournament at Subrail Park in Labasa. The last round of games are going to be played today, barring weather conditions. And these games obviously are of a lot of importance to at least 7 teams that are still in contention for a semi-final spot. Coach Gurjit Singh will go through each of the games that are going to be played today. What are your predictions relating to this, and how do you think teams are going to fare? Keeping in mind, of course, the ground conditions, what do you think are going to be the likely results in each of these matches that we have to be played today?
Yes, Nilesh, before that, I just want to mention some of the players who did well yesterday for some districts. For Latoka, I picked Malakai Rakula. He was almost all over the ground, and he did very well. For Ba, it was Suliano Tamanakoro, the defender. For Rewa, I picked Inoke Rangalai. And for Suva, obviously it's a Rusi, the striker. And for Nandi, it was Afraz Ali. And for Lambasa, it was Ilisoni Longaivao. And goal of the day, I would say that was a free kick taken by Nandi player Afraz Ali. And I haven't seen the fixtures for today, which teams are playing, but all the games for all the teams will be important. Suva got an advantage, I think, because of the main they've scored a lot of goals. They got better goal average. And if you can just tell me the fixtures so that I can, you know.
Okay, today we have Nandi that will take on Navua, and Lautoka is going to take on Suva. So these are the Group B fixtures. In Group A fixtures, we've got Nasinu that will take on Rewa, and Lambasa will take on Ba. So perhaps we'll go, one by one over each of the matches to be played today. So we've got Nandi versus Navua. What do you think is going to be?
Yes, Nandi versus Navua, I think Nandi needs to win. I mean, Navua, Nandi needs to win, and I feel that Nandi will qualify from this pool. That's my prediction. That the way they have been playing, some of these young players have really done well. So hopefully, we'll see Nandi winning this game. The next game is between which two teams?
Suva and Lotoka, I guess.
Yes, Tuva Lotoka. Lotoka is not out yet. Lotoka will also need a win, and it will be an interesting game. But Suva, as I said, they got better goal average so far. They got a better chance to qualify. And for me, I think Suva will qualify from that pool. Next one.
It would be Nasinu and Rewa.
Nisinu Rewa. Again, I feel that Rewa will have a lot of advantage. They have been playing well. They got good set of players. All 22 players are good. So Rondu will be trying to fill some players who did not play yesterday so that he rests some good players. So that game will definitely, my feeling is it will go for Rewa. And the last game is Lambasa versus Ba. That will be the most interesting game of today. Both teams have played well, but for Ba, I think they need a tie. Even if they draw, they can qualify. But for Lambasa, they need a win. So it will be an interesting game. And both teams played well yesterday. And let's see if which team qualifies. So to predict which team will win between these two teams is tough. But Lambasa got advantage, home ground, and they got good set of boys. Whereas Ba got some youngsters. They're still building up the team. So it will be an interesting team. And I think Lambasa will be able to win this game.
All right, thank you, Coach Gurjit Singh. Coach Ronil Lal, of course, the last match of the day and the last of the pool games, it's going to be very critical for Lambasa. And I know it has also put Lambasa into an extremely high pressure situation, if you can call it that. So what is the sort of toll that the pressure is also taking on the team? And what are you expecting in as far as that the outcome of that match is concerned?
Yes, the pressure is there, but if you're going to take the pressure, then I believe we have the pressure. It's all about mental, how we mentally prepare the team. It's individual team player meetings and team meetings that we have to conduct today. Me and my coaches, we have to conduct. I think so with my senior players getting together. As we know, the ground, the way we're going to play is very important. The roles that we're going to assign to them, that will determine the outcome of the game. It's very important that putting Ba under pressure from early on, so that if they're going to start dominating, that will be hard for us. Ba has got some very good players, quality players, and I think so. Players like Dundru and Kakashi, they have a very good shooting range and crossing ability. So it will all depend on us how we will do our roles in the game, especially in transitions. Because Subral Park is a much smaller ground. The transitions are very fast. As soon as you lose the ball, there is a counter attack. So it's very important to uh, get your team organized in transition play. So it will all depend on how well you're going to organize, how well the boys are going to play their roles, and the determination they should have. Uh, the mental preparation is very very important for this game. That's what as I mentioned, as you mentioned about pressure. So how are we going to deal with that? So it is all about mental preparation. So I believe that the better we prepare before the game, and that should determine the result. And I am quite positive that we should do well.
Thank you, Master Ronil. I just have a question for you. In our last episode, Rondu brought up a very interesting point about Team Lambasa, and he said that given Lambasa using same set of boys from beginning of the season up till now, it's very easy to predict. And I do sympathize with you that you don't have the luxury of depth at the bench like Rewa team to pick and choose. You can always gamble your players. So in view of that, a lot of fans were discussing with us what you are, how you plan to change things around come next season.
Uh, yes, obviously, as you've mentioned about our team, I think so. I've got 5 youth players in my squad with the other regular players, and as you've mentioned, the squad we have, and as Rondu said, it's very predictable the way Lambasa is going to play. Yes, majority of the teams do play like that, and it all depends on, as I said, the roles. We have played Reva 4 times this season, I believe, and we have lost 2 and won 2 games with them. So, well, against the league game we played against, and we used a different system. And in the semi-finals of IDC, I used a different system. So sometimes, yes, we can predict, and sometimes it's only I don't believe in prediction, but it's all about watching a team play and getting your analysis done is very important. Getting the facts. For next season, I believe our management has to spend the areas we need players in. Even the beginning of the season, I had requested for at least 4 players in specific positions, but I was not given those plays. But well, whatever we have, we managed. That's why you could see there's a lot of youth boys in my team, and very proud that these 5 youth boys, 4 of them have been selected in the Fiji under 19 extended squad. And I think so. It's also about building a team for future. But yes, if Lambasa has to be in contention for for the league and tournaments next year, I think so. We need to strengthen our squad, and it's not only about strengthening the squad. It's about having a plan.
Mm.
And as you all know, it's very important to have a strategic plan for certain things. And your KPIs are very important. Key indicators are very important. So at times we forget about that. We just think about, okay, getting in the place will help us. No, we need a plan. Even we can get 5 or 6 good players, but we don't have a plan. So I don't think so it will work out. So it's very important to have a plan, and according to the plan we work. If, for example, we all are talking about Lambasa qualifying for the O League, and people are saying that, but why is it not happening? So the first thing is we need to go back to the drawing board, have a review, and find out the problems, what is happening. Why are we not doing well in league? Or why are we not doing in certain games not doing well. So identify those areas, come with a plan, strategic plan, and then put that into action. So it's very important to have that first, I believe, then to get in place that we require in certain roles.
Very well said, Master Ronil, and I totally agree with you that we do need a long-term strategic plan and also focus on our youth development, which you are doing quite well. And thank you very much for that. Nilesh?
Yes, so that's a very important point that Master Ronil has brought up, and I think in a later program we're going to look at it. You know, what is the sort of approach that teams ought to have when making acquisitions during transfer windows? The importance of strategic planning, the importance of having short, medium, and long-term plans in order to approach things systematically and in order to achieve tangible and sustainable results in as far as performance of the teams are concerned, and in general the development of football in particular districts is concerned. Unfortunately, we've run out of time now, but before we go, we'd like to wish Master Ronil Lal and his Labasa team the very best, and in the very crucial encounter against Tiba later this evening. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We'll be back with another edition of Beyond the Game tomorrow. Until then,